Welcome to the Belly Brain Connection. I'm Hannah Winans. I'm a certified functional nutrition counselor, and I'm on a mission to help educate people about the connection between their gut health and mental well being. I believe that our gut health is the cornerstone to our overall health, and when we nourish our bodies, we nourish our minds. Belly Brain is for informational purposes only. Please consult your physician if you have medical questions. I'm not offering medical advice here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is episode 20. It's a little bit of a milestone episode. I can't believe I'm at episode 20 already. I made a promise to myself when I started these podcasts that I would do 52 podcasts in a year. So one per week, and I'm sticking to it. Thankfully, I made that promise to myself and I said it out loud and committed to other people because these take a lot of work. And there's definitely days that it's really hard for me to get these in. But I'm just committed to doing it, and I'm almost right on schedule. I think I'm maybe about 6 days off, but I'm trying really, really hard. And I appreciate you tuning in and sticking with me. I went back and listened to a few of my earlier episodes, and I do think I'm getting better. So that's huge to me. I'd heard somewhere, I don't remember where I heard this from, but that when you are doing something that's hard, but you want to get better at it, then that's a really good sign that you're doing something worthwhile. And so that's kind of how I feel. If you know me, then you know I do not like being on camera. I have no problem talking, but being on camera is a whole nother story. So this is definitely out of my comfort zone, which is going to bring me to the topic for today. We're going to do things a little bit differently. I'd like to kind of just summarize what we've gone over the past 20 episodes, because I know some of you are new to this channel and are, haven't gone back to listen to episode one, which honestly don't, because I feel like it's slightly mortifying. They're, like I said, they've gotten better as they go. But I wanted to just kind of share with you, kind of recap on my why, what this is all about, some of the things that we've covered. And then also I wanted to share with you my feelings on, um, how do I feel after starting a new project and putting myself out there? And some of the things that I've learned about that for anybody who's listening who is starting something new or feeling discouraged in a new project that you're starting. I want to kind of share with you what I've learned, and hopefully that'll help be of some encouragement to you to keep going. So yeah, episode 20, we've covered a lot. We've covered the gut microbiome, brain access. We have covered your gut microbiome and your skin, your oral microbiome and your gut microbiome, and how those are connected. Basically, all things microbiome. The point of these first few episodes was to really get you thinking about that connection between the food that you're eating, how your body is processing that food, and your overall well-being. It sounds so simple, and I think it kind of is, but it's something that we've really overlooked. And I think a lot of people are now beginning to understand it a little bit better, that we do have some control over how we feel, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. There's some things that we can do to help us feel better. And I'm, there's people who have severe mental health issues and they're under doctor's care, and that's really important. I don't want to minimize that by any means. And there are psychiatric drugs for a reason, and the people that need to be on them need to be consulting their doctors. But I think a lot of us have low grade inflammation, kind of a low grade anxiety, and I really believe that a lot of that can be helped with our nutrition. And so with Belly Brain, I'm just trying to create some awareness about that. When I started Belly Brain, I really didn't know what it was going to be. I received my functional nutrition certification. It took me about a year to get that. I've had my own gut health issues that I've conquered over the years, and I've always been very mindful of nutrition and how my body reacts to the foods that I eat. But I really wanted to do some more exploring about gut health, because I had gotten to a point where I was really doing all the right things and still really suffering from inflammation and some other things in my body. And so I wanted to know more about that. And so that led me to learning more about the gut microbiome. And in that, I started learning more about the gut brain connection. So the gut health, mental health connection. And in that, during that time, our family had gone through a mental health crisis, and I really became really, really aware with conversations that I was having with people, how many people are struggling with mental health issues in their families with their loved ones. And when I started making that connection between the gut and the brain, I realized more people need to have this information too. And so that combined with my certification, I thought, well, now what do I do? I don't really have time to counsel people individually. I did find myself, random parties, places with people having these kind of intense conversations about, like, oh, my daughter, somebody would say, my daughter is really having some mental health issues. She's got a lot of anxiety. And then we start talking about diet. And, almost every time this conversation comes up, I hear, oh, their diet's horrible. They have gut health issues, they have skin issues. I mean, it's all so connected. So I felt like, well, I need to have kind of a resource for people to go to where they can find the information that I'm sharing or that I'm learning and researching. So I created the Belly Brain website. And it was great because I could just direct people to, hey, here's this book that I'm reading. You should check it out. And then with that, that's where the podcast came from, because I thought, well, how do I get away from having these conversations in the wrong places? And where can I direct people to kind of listen to what I have to say? Um, and so, yeah, that's how this podcast started. I had no idea a year ago, I would have never thought I'd be doing a podcast. And if you know me, I do not like to be on camera. But part of this is also for my personal growth. And so my top priority is to help people and spread awareness. But in this, I'm realizing, hey, I'm 51 years old. I need to get over myself. I need to put myself out there in a way that I'm not comfortable with. And I could have easily just done this as a podcast behind the camera, but I felt like it was important for me to, put my face out there, and also I feel like it's more relatable. So that's how we got to the belly brain connection. And I'll tell you, it's a lot more work than I ever would have expected. I have a whole new appreciation for anybody who's trying something like this. There's definitely days that this is tough for me to get this done. I have to set things up. If you're wondering where I am, I'm in my upstairs, I call it my wellness room. And what I've got hiding behind this screen is all my workout stuff. So I have to set things up. There's lighting, there's mics. I mean, it's way more complicated than I ever would have thought. But I am learning how to do it. I'm doing it. I'm keeping the promise that I made to myself, and really, really hoping that, and I've always said from day one, if it helps one person, if it helps them become more aware that they have power over how they feel, then I've done my job. But so with that, I thought I would share with you a few things that I've learned along the way related to when you're working on a passion project, or I call it a purpose project, because there are days I am not necessarily passionate about setting this up and podcasting, but I just feel like I'm supposed to do it. Most of the time I am passionate about it, but I'm busy and I get tired. There's just some days that this is really hard to do. But I think it's worthwhile. So, number one, the first thing that I learned from putting myself out there like this, not everybody's going to like it. In fact, not everybody likes me. That's shocker, right? For somebody who is definitely a people pleaser and definitely always very concerned what everybody thinks about her, being me. That was a hard thing to It's just a hard realization that just because you're passionate about something and excited about it doesn't mean everybody else is going to be. And there's people who aren't going to like my style, who aren't going to like what I have to say, and don't really care. And so I kind of had to get over that and just be really grateful for the people who do tune in and do find value with what I'm doing. But definitely, I mean, even at my age, when it comes down to it, I think we all still have that like inner third grader in us that's worried about what everybody's going to think. And I've really, really had to get over that. And there is something liberating about it. So for those of you who are starting a new adventure, just get over yourself, just do it. I'd heard that from other people when I was starting this. It's way easier said than done, but there is something freeing about it when you just kind of put yourself out there authentically and just do it. So sorry, total Nike ad, right? Okay, number two, you may not get the support that you're expecting. So I'm so thankful that I have a core group of people who have been so supportive of me and encouraging. And I'm so grateful for those people. But it's a small group. And I know a lot of people. And I definitely am one of those people. I am involved in a lot of things. I feel like I'm always helping out. I'm always trying to encourage and cheerlead for other people. And the majority of the people that I thought would be really supportive aren't, don't care, haven't listened, don't like my page, don't like the YouTube channel. I have friends that I've known for 20 years that barely can like even acknowledge that I'm doing this. And at first, it really, really, really hurt my feelings. And especially because, like I said, I go out of my way for a lot of people, and it was really hurt. It was hard. Like it really hurt my feelings. And then I just went, you know what? I'm not going to take that personally. Whatever. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got things going on in their lives. Um, just focus and be grateful on the people that do support you. Those are your people when it comes to your project, whatever it is that you're working on. And don't worry about everybody else, because it's not going to feel the way you think it's going to feel. And I'm fortunate that I didn't really have any big expectations, because I'm not doing this to make money. I have a career. This is just really something I feel led to do. So that's helpful. But the fact that so many people who I've supported with their projects over the years barely acknowledge what I'm doing, that's tough. That hurts. And I'm still trying to get over it, but I'm working on it. So don't let that get in your way if you're trying something new, especially if you're trying something new where you know you're going to be helping people. That's what's most important. Um, Okay, number three, it can be discouraging. So I'll tell you what, it's a lot of work. And when you feel like nobody's listening or nobody cares, then you're wondering, why am I doing this? And I've definitely had a couple days where I'm like, this is stupid. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't have time. And then it's funny because usually on those days, I'll get like a little note from an unexpected note from somebody, or a text saying, hey, like even this morning, I mean, I had a hard time get this episode done this week, and I got a text early this morning from my sister who's like, "Hey, I shared your website with if somebody she knows, and she was really excited about it." And it was just enough for me to go, "Okay, keep going, keep doing it. You don't know where it could lead. You don't know who it could help." So, worst case is, nobody listens, but if even one person takes some advice from me or learns something here at Belly Brain and it helps them in their life, then this is all worth it. So if you're feeling discouraged, keep going. I had a friend of mine when I did one of my first YouTube podcasts. He typed in the notes, "Keep going." And that just keeps sticking with me. I'm just going to keep doing it, see where it leads, see who it can help. Let's see. Number four, what's really cool. So I've kind of talked about the hard stuff. The cool thing about this is that this doing this podcast has opened so many doors for conversations with people that are completely unexpected. So, most people who know me know I'm a realtor, and they know that I'm involved with a lot of nonprofits and I do a lot of fundraising. So that always seems to be like the typical conversation. Oh, how's the real estate market? Or, what fundraiser are you working on this week? But when I tell people I'm doing a podcast, they're like, wait, what? And so it totally opens the door for me to be able to tell them about the gut brain access, belly brain. And I find people genuinely curious. And a lot of times I hear their story. And so I'm learning so many people are struggling with some kind of gut health issue, mental health issue. I really believe that so many of us are walking around with like a low grade inflammation in our bodies that's really affecting how we feel emotionally, mentally, and how our bodies feel. And so much of that can be, I think, addressed with food and nutrition. So it's really enabled me to have more conversations and learn more about other people. And I mean, I've got people I never would have expected, who eat McDonald's every day, who have decided they're going to quit McDonald's or cut back on it, or, eat a ton of processed foods and are just going to start making some small changes just by the conversations that I'm having with them. And so that's been super super rewarding, and that negates all the other negative stuff that I just talked about. So, but I'm going over that because I really want you to know that it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster when you're putting yourself out there, and to expect it and not to let that um, stop you. Don't let it stop you. Just keep going. Um, let's see. The other thing that I've realized is that, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, um, when you have to record yourself and then watch yourself back, oh my gosh, to me, it's so cringy. I'm getting over it a little bit, but I've really realized that I talk a lot, which I have no problem doing, but am I actually communicating? That's a whole nother story. And so I find myself when I'm having conversations with people where I'm not being recorded, I catch myself being a little bit more mindful of how I'm communicating. And so there's something really interesting in watching yourself back when you know you're being authentic and you really can kind of see your authentic self on screen and how that translates. So I've discovered a lot about myself and how I interact with people that's been I think helpful. I think I'm choosing my words more carefully, and I'm trying to be more mindful, and trying to listen more when I talk to people so that I can respond in a communicative way versus just talking at people. So that's been something I didn't expect, and it's a little bit hard to realize that about yourself, right? Like, oh, I'm like kind of obnoxious. I need to rein that in. So that's been enlightening to say the least. So those are kind of my top 5 things that I've realized personally about doing this project. The other cool thing, though, is that I've learned a lot about the gut microbiome that I did not know. And a lot of that is because I'm learning it in the research that I'm doing to bring the information to you guys. And I'd heard somewhere that the best time to teach is as you're learning, or was something to that effect. But the reason being because as you're learning, as you're being a student and learning things, you're understanding it at a kind of a beginner's level. And most of your audience are going to be beginners too. So you can relay that information in a way that people better understand it versus being like very seasoned and knowledgeable and eloquent about what you're saying. That's great, but you might be missing, there might be a little bit lost in translation when you're speaking to people who are at beginner stage. And so I've learned, I think the top 3 things that I've learned that I didn't know about the gut microbiome was I really, well, and even how we digest our food, right? So one of the things we talked about was the cephalic phase of digestion, which is the first stage of digestion actually is in your brain. And I really didn't know that until I started studying for my nutrition course and really started diving into it in the research for the podcast. And so it made me really more mindful about taking a minute when we're going to eat and realizing that a lot of us are skipping that first step in setting our bodies up for optimal digestion when we don't take the time to smell our food, give thanks for our food, pay attention to what we're eating, chew our food. I mean, we did a whole episode on just chewing your food. So that really stuck out to me as something that I really wasn't aware of, even after all the research that I've done on digestion and gut health. The other thing that really stood out at me that was I just kind of couldn't believe it. It was such an aha moment was when I learned about the new science or the new evidence that SSRIs, which are the drugs a lot of people use for or prescribe for depression, anxiety, mental health conditions, that they're learning that they really begin to work in the gut before they actually can help in the brain. That to me, when I heard that, my jaw dropped because I realized how many people are maybe not, if that's true, and I believe that it is, are with the SSRIs that they're taking to help with their mental health issues, they may not be working right because their guts aren't in order. And I think a lot of people, when you look at that correlation between a lot of teens that have anxiety and having a really poor diet, that that could be that missing link, right? Like, well, if the SSRIs have to work in the gut first and their guts are off, then maybe that's why the medication's not working, or maybe why it takes so long for it to work and why so many people have to go on and off different medications. That's a heavy, heavy topic. And again, I never want to cross over into a territory where I'm giving any kind of like mental health advice. I'm just trying to make that connection between nutrition and gut health. So that really, really jumped out at me. And then the other thing that I really wasn't super aware of was the gut disruptors. So the things that we're ingesting that really can make a mess of our gut microbiome. And it's not always just food, right? It can be painkillers, it can be ibuprofen. I already kind of knew that antibiotics could be a problem, although I do believe that antibiotics save lives. And I'm not saying we shouldn't take them, but we should be aware of what they do to our gut microbiome and make sure that when we're taking those things that we are being proactive and replenishing the good things in our gut bacteria. And also with the ultra processed foods, the emulsifiers and the ingredients that you see on that list that you can hardly pronounce most of the time, what those do to our gut. And we're going to dive into that more in the next episode. But really kind of those kind of sneaky hidden gut disruptors that a lot of us are ingesting without even thinking about it, right? So really trying to get people to make that connection between, hey, if like for me, for example, I have a ankle that I've sprained and rolled about 3 different times. And when I am inflamed, when I've been eating the naughty things, that my ankle flares up. So maybe before I hop on a bunch of ibuprofen, which can cause issues and disrupt the gut, maybe I really look at, okay, maybe you just need to lay off some things for a while and, really try and hydrate and try some alternative things before you start popping a bunch of pills. So that to me, I really look closely now. Anything that I take that says that one of the side effects could be like diarrhea or constipation or stomach aches, anything like that. I look really closely at that. It's not like, oh, it can cause some gastric distress. Well, hold up, wait a second. We know that our 70 to 75% of our immune system resides in our gut. 90 to 95% of the serotonin is in our bodies is produced in our gut. So if I'm going to take something that messes with my gut, I'm going to make sure I really need to take it and maybe see if there's an alternative to that. So those are some things that I learned that I felt pretty fascinated with, and didn't really have a good handle on that until I started doing the research to bring to you guys. And I'm sure if you've been listening for a while, then you have some nuggets that you've taken away as well. So I'm hoping that in the future episodes, we're going to have more of those moments. I do, in the upcoming episodes, I want to bring some interviews to you. That's always been my goal, is to interview people who have their own health stories that they'd like to share, and how they've used nutrition to help them. And I don't subscribe to one diet theory. I really believe that everybody's bodies are different and people can be vegetarian, they can be paleo, keto, whatever it is. If it works for you and you feel good, then that's probably the right diet for you. So who is Belly Brain for? It's for everybody. And I know for a lot of you that are listening, a lot of people are at different levels of their health and nutrition adventure that they're on. So for some of you, you may be beginning Belly Brainer and you're just trying to figure out, okay, what are healthy foods and what's the difference between an ultra processed food and a processed food? Maybe you have a diet where you've got a lot of ultra processed foods, packaged foods, fast food, those kinds of things. And you're like, I know this stuff isn't good for me, but I don't know what to cut out and I don't know what to replace that with. I'm hoping in future episodes that we'll have answers for you. But if you're just like, I want to do something today and I want to start now, I would say if you're eating fast foods, if you're a beginning belly brainer, cut out the fast foods for a week. See how you feel. The good news is that you're probably going to see results pretty quick. And I know a lot of a lot of people, especially beginners in this nutrition journey, I think you're probably suffering with some food addiction to certain foods like fast foods or ultra processed foods because they're all created to actually make you addicted. And it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault that you're addicted to the foods that are created to addict you. But to get off them, if you can do that, it's going to make such a big difference right away. And my whole point with Belly Brain is just to get people to see the difference in how they feel. Because once you know that you can feel better, you're going to automatically start making better choices. And when you do make the wrong choice, you're going to understand the consequences and you're going to feel more connected and more empowered in your body. For instance, I do really good about 90% of the time. My diet is on point. I would say I'm a pretty advanced belly brainer. However, I have my days and I have my weekends. And last weekend was one of them when I dove headfirst into a bag of jelly beans and didn't come out for 2 days. And when I did, my eyes were practically stuck together. I was moody. I was tired. I was a mess. And so, but I know the difference. I knew when I was eating those jelly beans, which were basically designed to be completely addictive. There's like zero nutrition in them and they don't fill you up and you just can't stop. I mean, even chocolate has some fat in it that kind of helps you feel satiated. Jelly beans are the worst. So, and they're like so pretty and colorful and totally addicting. Anyways, I digress. So, I totally overdid it last weekend. I paid the price. I knew I was going to. I felt horrible enough to where I'm like, yeah, not going to do that in the near future. So, but a lot of people don't ever get to that point. They don't know, they don't take a break from those highly addictive ultra processed foods to know the difference. And so if you're a beginning belly brainer, I just really hope that you can take a break from some of those things so you can start to notice a difference. And I think that's going to help empower you to make better choices. If maybe you're more intermediate, maybe you lead a really, really healthy diet but you're still suffering from some gut issues, some gut dysbiosis, and you kind of can't quite figure it out. Well, then maybe you need to lean into foods that are rich in probiotics. Maybe there's some things you need to cut out of your diet. Maybe you need more fermented foods. Belly Brain will hopefully have information for you there. And we have had that in the past. So you could go to some of the previous episodes. But maybe for a beginning belly brainer, maybe it's just all about feeling better. And for somebody who's a little bit more intermediate, maybe it's like feeling great. Like I feel pretty good, but I know I could do some things to get me to the next level. Maybe you're advanced. Maybe you're a little bit more like me, where you're at a point where your diet's really, really good 90% of the time, and you want to take it to the next level. And maybe you're doing a little bit of biohacking. Maybe you're wearing an Oura ring like I am, or you've tried a glucose monitor and you're really kind of fascinated and interested in and seeing how your body reacts to things and you feel great, but now you want to feel almost like you got superpowers. Well, I hope I'll have information here for you too. So my goal is that you can come here, you can listen to these podcasts, and that at each level, right, each stage in your life, that you can take away a little something to help encourage you through the week to just eat better, to feel better. And if that helps, then that's my goal. Stay away from those jelly beans. So, oh my Lord. So even like I said, even us intermediate or advanced people can lose it. And that's why as I was eating those jelly beans, I was like, oh, we're going to talk about ultra processed foods, because that little treat checked off all the boxes of how these foods are created um, to to hook us. They're created to hook us and hook our kids. And for some of you who have been to the website, I put some of this kind of information in the section called the rabbit hole. But I do believe that these ultra processed foods and big pharma, there's a connection. And if I see one more, new prescription drug ad followed by a fast food commercial, I'm going to lose my mind. I mean, we know we know that we are being sabotaged. Our kids are being sabotaged. I'm not going to go too deep into this. You can check out the rabbit hole where I can put that kind of information there. But the cards are stacked against a lot of us in the food industry, with the food industry, and I'm happy to see that there's going to be some big changes coming our way. But we don't need to wait for that. We need to take control of how we feel and really focus on understanding what we're putting into our bodies and making that connection. So let's see. I think that's it. That was a long one, and I appreciate you listening. And like I said, it was a little heavier on my feelings, but I felt like I just wanted to share that with you. I've had the past 20 episodes. I think the majority of them have had a lot of really good content. So if you're new to Belly Brain and you want to learn more about different foods to eat, fermented foods, the microbiome in our gut and how it's connected to everything, there's a lot of really good information at those podcasts and also at the website. And then for the next 20 episodes, I hope we're able to bring you some new, fresh content and some more interviews. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope this helps. Bye.